Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Monday. I just looked. Is it the 5th? Yeah. April 5th, 2021. And today we are doing the second Phasmophobia episode. I did plan on recording on Friday. I really did. Unfortunately, Friday was a really bad back day for me. I spent like the first 40 minutes of my day whimpering in pain waiting for the ibuprofen to kick in. This is not so much. Oh, Elsa, hush. Okay, so. No, I'm good. Alright. Oh yeah, second episode on Phasmophobia, talking about the remaining evidence, or remaining equipment. Words are hard. The spirit board, and I guess if we have time, getting into any differences between the ghosts that aren't already brought up. Right? Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Okay, so remaining equipment. We covered all of the primary evidence gathering equipment. We may have covered some of the secondary equipment. I have not re-listened to that episode since publishing. I probably should have. So we may cover some stuff a second time. Oh well. It's my show. I get to do what I want. Alright, so starting with the shelves by the bay door. Most of that is evidence gathering equipment. You do have sanity pills, a piece of equipment you can buy. So an important thing to note, none of your equipment gets used up. Like, it gets used up on the contract, but if you use all 4 of the sanity pills you can take with you because you max out at 4, and then go to start another contract, you'll be able to load the same 4 sanity pills you took in the last contract. So just because something gets used up for the contract doesn't mean that, like, you have to buy it again to be able to take it with you on another contract. It's just an important thing to be aware of. So sanity pills will raise your sanity 40 percentage points. Not like, oh, well, if you're at 60% sanity, it will raise 40% of 60. Oh, weird. Math is weird. But we'll just, whatever your current sanity is, plus 40. Then there's the glow sticks. So we talked about the UV light with the fingerprints. Glow sticks effectively work the same way. I guess the main use there is if you're trying to see the footprints in the salt. Because a UV light, you can throw it on the ground and leave it on, and it'll shine its beam, in a direct path from it, like if you threw a regular UV light on the ground. Whereas if you throw the glow stick on the ground in the middle of all your salt piles, it'll have a circumference of light. Not today, Satan. Would you still call that a radius? I feel like you'd still call that a radius, even though it is a whole, circle. I don't know. Anyway, we're not going to get too hung up on that. Anyway, so yeah, that's the purpose of the glow stick. Effectively, it's the same as a UV light. Since you max out at 2 UV lights and 2 glow sticks, if you're going with a team of 4 and everybody needs a source of UV light, I guess you could each take, 2 could take the UV lights and 2 could take glow sticks. But by and large, there's not much use for them. Sage's favorite use of them is they are integral to the perfect cat shrine in Tanglewood. She calls them her lucky glow sticks. Alright, so the photo cams, we did talk a little bit about them. You know, you take photos of interaction and, you know, evidence and whatever. And they can be kind of used as an evidence gathering tool for fingerprints if for some reason you don't have UV light, even though UV light's part of the default equipment, so you should always have a UV light. Then you have the smudge sticks, the candles, and the lighters. Okay. So candles are a source of light. The ghost can blow them out. It is now an objective on some maps to have a ghost blow out a candle. I'm pretty sure candles are part of the default starting gear. I don't think I had to buy them. But either way, most of the house maps have candles in them, and you can light the candles that are in the house. You can soft place them by pressing the F key. And it's actually a good way to get some interaction photos. Especially with like poltergeists and Onis that are like known for throwing objects. And the smudge sticks, you smudge the ghost room, and the ghost cannot hunt for a minute and a half, except spirits can't hunt for 3 minutes. They are extra susceptible to smudging. Also, if you smudge a ghost during a hunt, it kind of restarts the grace period. I have to pause y'all real quick. Okay, so if you smudge the ghost during the hunt, you kind of get your grace period back. When a hunt starts, I think it's 6 seconds that the ghost can't kill you, and it's now been changed. I think it is in the live stable version that the ghost actually won't move during that period. Before it did, so it caused some confusion, and the ghost could use that 6 seconds to double back behind you and kind of trap you. And smudging it during a hunt will get you your 6 seconds again. I've seen Insim use this to loop a revenant. Unfortunately, you only get to take 4 smudge sticks with you, so you have to use like all of them to do it. Oh, okay, I gotta pause y'all real quick again. Okay, maybe not. So you would have to use like all your smudge sticks to do this. Also, the problem with smudge sticks and candles is you have to have both the smudge stick or candle and the lighter. So if you have a flashlight, which I do insist on having, because not only does it help you see to navigate, but it is a hunt indicator. If you're carrying a candle for light, it doesn't blink when the hunt starts, so you can find yourself in a position where the ghost is hunting and you don't realize it. So if you're carrying a flashlight, that means that your other 2 slots are taken up by the candle / smudge stick and the lighter. So that's a little annoying. But to activate the smudge stick, you hold it in your primary hand, lighter in one of the off slots, and press F. You don't want to activate it until you're in the ghost room if you're smudging the ghost room, because they only burn for so long. But you'll see it smoke and everything to indicate that it is on. Alright, now I gotta pause y'all. Okay, so that covers that. Oh, candles. If you're in the presence of a lit candle, your sanity won't trickle out. You'll still lose sanity for sanity draining events, like the ghost appearing, witnessing a ghost event, messing with the spirit board. But the kind of slow trickle that happens with your sanity will not happen if you're carrying a candle. I don't understand the logic there, but whatever. Crucifixes. This is a pretty useful piece of equipment, but also can be kind of a trap. So you can take a max of 2 crucifixes. The game calls them crucifixes. I don't know. I was pretty young when we lapsed Catholic. Try and get, like, the full-on Catholic experience. But according to my very Catholic grandmother, the difference between a cross and a crucifix is crucifix actually, has the body on it, whereas cross is just the 2 crossed lines. And these don't have a body, so I think they're just crosses, but I don't know. It's, I guess it's a little pedantic to even argue the point, but whatever. So anyway, the crucifixes. They do nothing for you in your hand. But you can place them in the ghost room. You can throw them on the floor, you can throw them on the bed if it's in a bedroom, you can throw them on desks, dining room table, kitchen island, whatever. And if a ghost tries to start a hunt within 3 meters of the crucifix, the hunt is prevented. Except for banshees, who are extra afraid of crucifixes, and you get a 6-meter radius on those. So, this is now in the live update. It looks like there was another patch last week, and somewhere, I just didn't realize that I downloaded it. Probably one of the times that my computer restarted for Windows updates, and Steam restarted, and just automatically downloaded the update. So it used to be, the crucifix will prevent the hunt twice, and then it's blown. And it used to be you had no indication that the first hunt was prevented unless you had the prevent a hunt with a crucifix objective, and then you'd see it cleared on the board. And after the second hunt was prevented, the crucifix would just disappear. So if you're playing with more than one person, there's always the question, oh, did somebody move it? Whatever. So now you have a very clear visual indicator, and that's after the first hunt's prevented, one of the arms disappears. After the second hunt's prevented, the other arm disappears, and you're left with what has tripped there. What has come to be known as a Jesus stick. But you're left with, just a stick. And you cannot take 2 sticks and lay them across each other to kind of create a faux third crucifix and have it do anything in Sims Tried. That would be an interesting mechanic, but so that's crucifixes. As mentioned, prevent a hunt with a crucifix is sometimes an objective. So, okay, placing them in the houses. Most of the rooms are small enough that if you place one crucifix in the middle, it should cover the whole room. However, when you have the situation of like a suite with an ensuite bathroom and or walk-in closet, that gets a little hinkier, because while the ghost will tend to gravitate to one area, like one room out of the suite, technically I think the whole suite counts as the ghost room. So while you may get most of the evidence in the ensuite bathroom, they can try to start a hunt in the main bedroom area. So you gotta be a little careful with your placement. The other thing is, some ghosts wander a lot, and they can technically try to initiate a hunt at any point in their path, not necessarily in the ghost room. And wraiths in specific can teleport to where the player is and start a hunt there. So don't put your full faith in the religious symbol. Man, that's a straight up Salem's Lot moment right there. But just because you have crucifixes in the room doesn't mean you're completely safe. but again, except in the case of a Revenant, you do move faster than the ghost, so you should be able to get to a point where you can break line of sight, get a little distance, and get to a hiding space. Alright, so I think that's about it for the... Oh, salt. But we talked about salt last time, I'm pretty sure. You put down piles of salt, you can see, like, you can put them in the ghost room. A lot of times you'll get the objective, get, ghost to walk through salt. If you are in the room when the salt becomes disturbed, like the pile changes, and you shine a UV light, most of the time you're supposed to get footprints. The last run Sage and I did, like, we had this ghost stomping through all the salt, and there were no footprints, none, and it wasn't a wraith. It was weird. And you can see them with the UV light, and you'll actually, like, see the direction the ghost moved through it. And you are supposed to be able to take photos of the footprints for experience and money. Again, this is not something Sage and I have ever gotten to work, so I don't know about that. I know I've seen ImSim do it, but he's also playing on the unstable beta, and that update went into the beta way before it went into the live version, so I don't know. I don't know if that, like, missed migration or what. And then in the case of Wraith, a Wraith will never leave footprints because, canonically to the game, Wraiths fly, even though when they're hunting you don't see a difference in the hunting animation at all. But they'll never leave footprints. Okay, so I think that's it for the more useful equipment. Now we're going to get into the stuff that there's not a whole lot of use for. Parabolic mic. At this point, the only use of a parabolic mic is if you play on professional. There is an objective to get the ghost footsteps to register on the parabolic mic. But aside from that, it is a 100% straight worthless piece of equipment. It's kind of a meme in the game. They have done improvements to it to try to make it useful. It just isn't. Motion sensors. Motion sensors, we use them a lot, but they're still kind of useless. They're a low priority piece of equipment. Spend your money on other pieces of equipment that, are better before you spend money on the motion sensors, but they're kind of neat. So you stick them to a wall, and they basically have a sensor beam, and when something breaks through that beam, they trip. On the motion sensor itself, there's a red light and a green light. The red light means nothing's in the path. Green light means something is. When you place them, if you go back out to the truck, on your map of the house, you'll see the red lines indicating the beam of the motion sensor. And when something passes through it, they will turn green, and you'll get a sound effect, a little boop. So sometimes you get the objective to, get evidence with the motion sensor. But they're somewhat useful for tracking the path of a ghost. So some ghosts don't really leave their room much. And like in my experience, shades and jinns stick pretty close to their room. Mares wander like a lot, though the AI has been changed so that pretty much all the ghosts that wander a lot too. Like Rebs wander a lot. Again, Wraiths can teleport to where you are, so if you've determined that the ghost room is like the back room of the house, upstairs, back bedroom, furthest from the entryway you can possibly get, and you're in the entryway mucking around with the spirit board, because that's how we do it. and suddenly the ghost appears in the entryway, then you could be looking at a wraith. Like, that's kind of a nice indication to start leaning that way, and like look at what are the wraith's pieces of evidence, and can you eliminate any of them. So, also, Urays, when you smudge their room, they can't wander from that room for a minute and a half. Like, for the hunt cooldown from smudging. So again, if you have a motion sensor inside the ghost room and a motion sensor, right outside of the ghost room, and you have a ghost that you've seen wandering a lot, you smudge the room and all of a sudden they're not wandering anymore, could cause you to focus more heavily on the evidence for Uray and see if you can eliminate any of that. Because sometimes, especially with things like the ghost orbs and the ghost writing, now taking longer and longer to happen, and it's basically a random chance when those things can happen, if they do happen. Some of this kind of secondary behavioral evidence can help you kind of narrow down on basically trying to eliminate ghosts that meet that secondary kind of stipulation. It's not 100%, obviously, but it can be a direction to look in if you're having trouble getting the evidence you need. So, yeah, I like the motion sensors, but in actuality, they have about the same usefulness as the rest of the sensors. So, then you have the infrared motion sensors. Those do not interact with your map in the truck at all. But they basically work the same way as the motion sensor, except instead of toggling a small red and green light, they just light up. And they light up pretty bright. So, again, this is useful for if you're trying to... you've got the ghost activity narrowed down to a couple rooms, and you're trying to figure out, like, which one's the primary room, especially because the ghosts can interact with things on the other side of the walls of their room, like things that directly border. So, like, the one map, you go through the kitchen area down a longish hallway, and you have on the left side a little utility room, on the right side a half bath, and as you keep going down the hallway, the left side opens up to, it's not really a mud room, like I guess a family room, and the right side has the door to the garage. And in this family room area, there's a piano on the wall that borders that utility room. Sometimes, if the ghost's room is the utility room, the ghost can still basically, like, reach through the wall and you'll get the piano key notes playing. It's just like a note here and there, like, ding. So that can cause some confusion, like, which room is it? So if you set up the infrared sensors, you'll get more of an idea if you're seeing they're only lighting up in the utility room. Okay, it's the utility room. Also, if you're, like, trying to get things that happen in the ghost room, like, okay, you're looking for freezing temperatures. Freezing temperatures will happen wherever the ghost is. Like, you'll see your breath and everything if you're in the presence of the ghost. So if it keeps lighting up these motion sensors, but you walk into that room and you're not getting any freezing breath, then, it's probably not freezing. Again, not terribly useful, but they're neat. We don't even really take them anymore. I had bought them earlier in our gameplay, and we, put them up. I think they're more useful if you're doing solo runs, because, again, the other motion sensors, to really see the activity, you have to be watching from the map in the truck or paying real close attention to the two little lights on them. Whereas these, you can get the same effect of being able to track where the ghost is moving, where it's at, and have a better visual representation in the house. Okay, sound sensors. So you stick those on a wall, and they have a radius that they cover. Actually, I think you put those on the floor. So you drop a sound sensor, and it will sense sounds in its area of effect. Those will also, like the what are you doing? Oh, alright, that wasn't your fault. So you'll be able to see the area they're covering on the map, and there's a sound sensor panel on your informational board that will show you where you're getting the biggest hits. So if you place a sound sensor in a living room and say a kitchen that's down the hall from the living room, you can the sound sensor board, when a sound happens, you'll see a disturbance in both the kitchen and the living room, because one of them has the last dying waves of the sound, and the other one's where the sound originated. So one will have a bigger spike than the other. The only time I've seen these be useful is Insim was doing a photo randomizer challenge, which that's probably my favorite of the challenges he does, where he starts out, the only pieces of equipment he uses are the flashlight, which I guess he mostly uses for the viewer's comfort, not his own, because he can navigate these maps in the dark pretty well. And the photo cams, and as he gets pictures, usable pictures, he spins a wheel to unlock new pieces of equipment he can use. And one of the times he was doing this, all he was getting was sensors. It's parabolic mic, motion sensor, sound sensor. He's motherfucker, none of these really help. So then he, when placed all the sensors, he's alright, I know the ghost room is the basement, so I guess we'll try to get interaction photos there so we can unlock actual useful pieces of equipment. But by and large, they don't really further your main objective in the game. I've never seen an objective for either the infrared motion sensor or the sound sensor. Only the regular motion sensor. Alright, so that's all the equipment, I think. Pretty sure we covered all of it. So the spirit board. Spirit board has about a 33% chance to spawn in any given location. What can it tell you? So I suggest when you find it, you take it to right inside the front door. So sometimes, if you're standing right inside the threshold, you're just far enough to be considered inside the house, and you'll be able to tell because inside the house there's this ambient noise that it almost sounds like a tunnel. This is the best way I can describe it. If you play the game, you'll be able to tell. Once you cross the plane, the ambient sound will change. So if you're just inside the front door and a hunt starts, there is a good possibility that you get pushed outside the front door. That the collision path knocks your player out of the house. I don't like being inside for the hunt. It's not my favorite. I have had this backfire where I was just a little bit too far inside the door, and the door basically closed through me. But luckily it was Tanglewood. Tanglewood is probably, while you're getting your bearings and, getting down the skills you need in the game, Tanglewood is probably one of the best maps to play. It's the smallest map. It has a ton of hiding spots. It's got a lot of the closets with the slat doors, and it even has lockers in the garage. It's 1 floor plus basement, as opposed to all the other houses that are 2+ floors. Usually plus basement, though. I don't think either of the farmhouses have a basement. Which is probably good, because those would be creepy as shit. So no matter where you are, unless you're in the basement, you have a hiding spot, a reasonable hiding spot pretty close to you. And that's where I got caught in for the hunt, and luckily the ghost room was way back in the garage, so I had plenty of time to get to the slatted closet right inside the front hallway and hide in there for the hunt. But yeah, Tanglewood is probably the easiest map as far as, the complications caused by the map itself. Unless you have the front hallway ghost, like that's their territory. That's a little obnoxious, but you can still deal with it. You can work with it. So, the spirit board, I recommend you take it to the entryway, but you can use it anywhere in the house. It doesn't have to be in the ghost room. You can take a photo when you find it, and that counts as the spirit board photo. Then you turn it on. You turn it on by clicking it. If it's not lit up, it's off. If it's lit up, it's on. Now, we have found that you have to hold down the B key to get it to hear you. Other people claim that you don't need to press any key. It'll just hear you. I don't know. But questions you can ask it are like, where are you? How old are you? How long ago did you die? How many people have you killed? These are all good questions that it should register and try to answer. Now, there is a 33% chance that you fail. And when you fail asking the spirit board a question, the board turns off, the lights in the room flicker, and you lose 40 percentage points of sanity. On a successful question, the planchette will start moving and it'll spell out. And you can take a picture of the planchette moving with each successful question you asked and get an interaction photo to fill up your photo book. Your sanity will drop between 5 and 10 points on a successful question unless the ghost is a demon. If the ghost is a demon, your sanity does not drop from successful questions. So that's the most useful the board is for determining ghost type. It's also good for lowering your sanity in the case of not a demon, or if you fail a lot. To get more activity, because the lower the player's sanity goes, the more active the ghost becomes. So there is no penalty for hitting 0 sanity, like you don't die or anything. But again, the lower the average sanity of the group, or the lower the sanity of the player in the case of solo, the more active and aggressive the ghost is. Now, I think I went over hunts in the last episode, but just in case, understand. So, vintage. he's always been, like, real nice to me, and he's always been real nice to Sage. The one game day, she, like, really, really wanted to play Matt. It was a nickel bolus Matt, and she's all about nickel bolus. And, she was not close to winning. We both got our asses handed to us that game day. But Vintage ended up winning it, so he got the Matt, and he gave it to Sage, because she was all about having it. You know, he's always been pretty great to us. I wouldn't call us, like, best friends or anything. You know, we chat and whatnot, but, you know, like, if I do a vow renewal, yeah, he's probably not top of the guest list. I wasn't invited to his wedding, you know, so we're friendly, but I wouldn't say we're close friends. But he's always been pretty great to us, and he had mentioned being interested in Phasmophobia, so I gifted it to him on Steam. And he's actually played a run with me and Sage, and then his, like, mic broke down. We could not hear him, which was frustrating. But he mentioned, because you can do the training mission, and in the training mission, the ghost can't kill you. So the training mission, they'll tell you where the ghost room is, and it's, you know, basically what it sounds like. Like, it is kind of a softball mission to get used to using the evidence gathering equipment and the controls and everything. And the ghost can't kill you. I don't know if it can hunt you at all. Like, if it can even do a hunt, and if it catches you, it just doesn't kill you, or it doesn't at all. I have done the training mission, but, like, you have to do the training mission alone. I do not play Phasmophobia alone. Even, like, I couldn't even handle the training mission knowing that the ghost couldn't kill me. And so he plays the training mission, and then he goes and joins the public lobby, and, you know, as we're chatting about this, he's like, did you know that some of the ghosts will try to kill you? No, all of the ghosts will try to kill you. And when a hunt happens, if the ghost catches you, you die. That's it. There is no, like, grappling with the ghost. There's no trying to evade. There's nothing the player can do at that point. You just die. And that's, you know, very important to know. And I think that's everything. Like, you know, each of the ghosts has strengths and weaknesses. The spirit's weakness is it's extra susceptible to smudging. I don't honestly know what the spirit strength is. I don't think it has one. The shade is the traditionally shy ghost. Tends to only interact with people who are alone. And again, in my experience, they tend to not wander from their room. And that makes them a little hard to detect because they're not terribly active. Onis, on the other hand, they love an audience. They are very active. And, like, their special ability is they can throw objects pretty far. So instead of throwing a bunch of objects at once like the poltergeist does, an Oni will throw one object, but it'll yeet it pretty far. But because they're so active and aggressive, it makes them much easier to find. The demon, you don't lower sanity when interacting with the spirit board, can hunt at a higher sanity, which I do believe we covered in the last episode. And demons tend to be one of the more aggressive ghost types. Revenants move faster than the player if they're in line of sight, or they move much slower if they're not in line of sight. Jinns can move faster to catch up to players, but only if the breaker's on. Let's see here. Banshees can apparently hunt at any sanity, latch on to a specific player, and are extra afraid of crucifixes. Urays. Urays can't wander if you smudge their room. And they're supposed to have a higher effect on your sanity if you see them. But your sanity only drops like 2 to 4 points from seeing the ghost. And Urays and Phantoms both double that, but, you know, good luck being able to tell that by the time you get out to truck, unless you have somebody actively watching the sanity board when it appears. Phantoms will disappear if you take a photo of them. They blink out more during a hunt. But yeah. But that's Phasmophobia in a nutshell. Again, highly recommend. It's a really fun game. It's being developed by like a solo indie developer. So updates to the main patch are a little slow. You know, they're a little few and far between. Updates on the beta, like it seems like some weeks you get multiple patches in a week, and then you'll go a couple weeks without any patches. But I mean, it is a relatively solid game in general, but especially when you consider that it's one indie developer putting this together, it's actually pretty impressive. I mean, I have seen Bethesda releases with more bugs than Phasmo has. And it's the nice thing about him releasing things in the unstable beta and you having all these streamers that play on the unstable beta is he'll release a feature into the beta and then the streamers will, you know, run around, play with it, you know, like, okay, here's the patch notes, let's see if we can, you know, see how this new mechanic works or how this change works. And if they find bugs, they can report them directly. And it gives them an opportunity to correct the bugs in this unstable version, so people who want to play in a cleaner, less buggy game, playing on the live stable patch, by the time the update makes it to the live stable version, most of the bugs seem to be pretty worked out. I mean, there's little glitchy things, like you used to be able to put in Tanglewood, because when you walk up the walkway to go into Tanglewood, on your left is the wall that makes up the front bedroom, and on your right is the wall that makes up the garage. And you used to be able to place the motion sensors on those walls, even though it's not like in the house. You can't do it anymore. So like little things like that you see. And if you've been running the game for a while, you'll kind of find more places where you can glitch out of the world. Like, you end up in a corner and you've broken through the walls. But that's, you know, basically as your memory in your computer gets bogged down. But I mean, all in all, it is a very solid game. You know, the graphics are a little rudimentary. You know, there's not a whole lot of, like, deep immersion feeling because the graphics are a little rudimentary. But, no, all in all, totally recommend. It's a great game. So, hopefully we'll get in another episode or two this week and talk about, like, changes to the show and everything and what's going on. I wanted for the first couple episodes, after being, you know, radio silence for so long, to actually be about a game rather than taking the time to, you know, talk about, you know, real life nonsense and all that. So there you have it. I gotta get in and get logged in for work and everything. I actually passed husband on my way in. It's weird that I was just passing him there. So I gotta find out if there's something wrong in my house. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all again this week.